Welcome to another episode of my YouTube channel, Datascience with Sam. After a brief pause, I'm bringing you another data science series on my YouTube channel. In my previous series, I talked about deep learning. After going through some previous videos, now you know how the deep learning work, what are the main components of neural network, and how you can build your first convolutional neural network model for image classification exercise. If you haven't watched those videos, I'll definitely recommend you to go back to my YouTube channel and watch those videos before you proceed forward with this one. And also, please don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel, as I'm bringing more data science contents which will definitely be beneficial for your projects and other machine learning work that you're going to do in your work or for your personal project. So now let's get back to today's series. So today I'm going to start a new series on unsupervised learning. So if you watched my previous videos, in one of the videos I talked about what are the different types of machine learning models we used for our data science work. So there are huge aspects of unsupervised learning that sometimes we often ignore, because most of the cases when we build our machine learning model, we usually supervise the model because we know the input data, we understand the pattern of the input data, so we kind of supervise the model based on the data we know, and it's more exclusively kind of understandable that we know the pattern. For example, like suppose if you're going to do forecasting analysis, like suppose if you want to try to predict a stock price after certain days, you should be able to know what will be your final outcome, because you know your final outcome would be a numeric value. But what if you don't understand the pattern beforehand? What if you are not going to supervise the model? Rather, you are allowing your model to work on it itself and understand the pattern and cluster the data accordingly. So in those cases, unsupervised learning will be taken into consideration. Like for example, like if you want to analyze a DNA sequence, in many cases you don't understand the actual outcome of the DNA sequence. You don't know how the DNA sequence are correlated with each other. So in those kind of cases, we actually have to apply unsupervised learning to find out the hidden pattern among those DNA sequence, and then the model will actually cluster the similar DNA sequence in a different formation. So the discussed clustering techniques are a big aspect. It's a huge aspect of unsupervised learning. So most of the cases, we are letting the system work on it itself and find out the hidden clusters among a huge data set. So let's check it out in the next section. What are the main key differences between a supervised learning and unsupervised learning? So let's talk about what are the key differences between unsupervised learning and supervised learning. First of all, in supervised learning, you use a labeled input data. So your algorithms do not have to define the labels or classes explicitly. Rather, when we feed that input data set to the model, it only knows that that particular data point corresponds to that class or label. So like suppose in my previous deep learning series, I showed you an image classification exercise. So in the image classification project, you are kind of defining an image, whether it's a cat or dog image. So in the input data set, I already predefined the image as whether it's a cat or dog. So that's kind of like a true example of supervised learning, where the model already knows the particular label of the data set or the data point. Whereas for supervised learning, a model has to find out itself whether that input data is specific to a particular label or it's just a non-labeled class. Like when you perform a unsupervised learning on a DNA sample, you don't know that whether the DNA sequence is corresponds to which particular label. So the model has to label the data. The next thing is the computational complexity. So in supervised learning, the computational complexity is less, because here you already know the labeled data, so the model will actually train on the labeled data and it provide prediction accordingly. Also, you understand the predicted outcome, because like suppose if you're going to do a forecast analysis, your predicted outcome would be enough of a numerical value. So your model understands the predicted outcome. It also has the input labeled data as input, so it's easy for a supervised learning model to perform the training and provide the prediction accordingly. Whereas for unsupervised learning, it's difficult for a model to understand the data or the label beforehand. So that's why the model has to go through an iterative process to learn the data, and based on that, it provides the predicted outcome in different form of clusters. The third point is accuracy. So since the supervised learning already deals with the labeled data, so it has a better accuracy and even less complex as well. It provides better accuracy within a short span of time. Whereas for the unsupervised learning, the accuracy is not good. You may have to run the model for multiple times and multiple iterations to get better accuracy. So that's kind of like three main differences of unsupervised learning and supervised learning method. So in the next section, let's talk about some of the unsupervised learning methods that you can see in today's industry world. So let's talk about some of the important use cases of unsupervised learning. So most of the use cases are kind of part of industry practice when it comes to unsupervised learning algorithms or mechanisms that you can apply to improve your business strategy. The first is customer segmentation. So sometimes you need to understand that how your customer behavior work, and you have to actually place those customer in a different group. And for that kind of segmentation analysis, you can use unsupervised learning because you don't understand because you cannot actually label any sort of customer behavior beforehand. You actually have to perform an unsupervised learning, and based on the similar behavior of customers, you can place them in same group or cluster. So customer segmentation is a very popular use case in terms of unsupervised learning in business practice. The next one is genetics. As I mentioned that so many times we perform unsupervised learning to find out the DNA patterns and to analyze that how it will be influential to understand the evolutionary biology. Because when you check the DNA sequence, it's kind of like a thread. They don't actually have an explicit label or any pattern beforehand. So you have to basically run your DNA sequence through an unsupervised learning algorithm, and based on that algorithm, it defines that which are all the DNA sequence could be formed or placed in its separate clusters. So that clustering techniques on DNA sequence is very popular in scientific world. So scientists are using unsupervised learning to find out the hidden pattern of different DNA sequences. The next one is recommender system. I'm pretty sure you all are familiar with the streaming channel recommender system, whether it's Netflix or Amazon Prime. They always give you movie recommendation, right? So every time you actually open the app, you can see they're giving you like a movie which you might like. So the way the recommender system works is that they usually get the data based on the user reviews and ratings, and based on the user reviews and ratings and users like a history of watching movies, they put different movies in different genres, and based on the user's choice or preferences, they recommend the movies from the same genre or with the same kind of ratings. So the recommender system is also a very kind of a true example of unsupervised learning, because here we are not actually explicitly labeling the data. Rather, using an algorithm, we're finding out which movies will be suitable for viewers' choice, which movie that user would prefer, and based on that, we're placing all those movies in the same cluster and recommending those movies to the users through that app. And the final one is anomaly detection. So anomaly detection is also coming up getting very popular nowadays, especially in the cybersecurity practices, because sometimes you can actually detect anomaly or some sort of fraud detection, based on the like traffic you're seeing on your network. Sometimes the cybersecurity engineer could actually check and go through the log. They can perform some sort of algorithm or unsupervised learning on the logs, and that algorithm will find out that which kind of the network traffic seems not very similar to the usual traffic. So those anomalies could be detected as fraud. So you can definitely imply unsupervised learning in fraud detection. So cybersecurity engineers can definitely work with the data scientists to find out which are the network traffics are unusual, and maybe that will be and prone to hacking. So maybe this kind of unsupervised learning practice will help them to detect the frauds or any sort of like a hacking mechanism beforehand, and they can act on it accordingly. So these are the four important use cases that are being used in different industry when it comes to implying unsupervised learning in business practices. There are so many other examples will be shared in my next videos. So that's all for now. So let's go to the final section of this video to wrap it up. I hope this vlog gives you a notion of unsupervised learning. Hopefully this will make you interested to learn more about this learning technique. So please stay tuned, because in my next video, I'll start talking about how you can build your unsupervised learning model. It's all about clustering. I'll give you a brief example of how many different clustering techniques are there that you can apply to perform unsupervised learning on dataset. It doesn't matter what kind of dataset you're using, mainly if you are using an unlabeled dataset, you have to perform unsupervised learning. So let's stay tuned for my next video, from which onwards I'll start giving you all these clustering techniques info. And now I also encourage you to go back to my YouTube channel and watch some of the previous videos on deep learning, and especially there's one video was related to machine learning techniques. So I will definitely recommend you to watch that machine learning technique video, and I'll share that information in the caption. Okay, so please check it out, because that video will be very beneficial for you to understand that how many different machine learning techniques are there, whether it's supervised or unsupervised or any other learning technique that you should acquire in your data science field of study. So that's all for now. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel, because more data science related contents are forthcoming. I'll definitely share more information on this unsupervised learning in next couple of months. You can always go back to my and check my YouTube, Instagram and YouTube channel, because I'll share more information, whether it's related to unsupervised learning or even for other data science related topics. So stay tuned, and till then, goodbye.